Hello, welcome everybody to episode 31 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. I'm Michael Palisak. Hello, sleepers, who are people who have listened to the podcast at least one time. If you've not listened to the podcast at least one time and you're considering yourself a sleeper, I would ask you to apply for membership previously. There's not really a process yet, but if you send me an email, I can certify you as a sleeper. These are just jokes. That was a joke. We are a community. We are a community, and thank you for being here. And you're a member already. I don't know. Maybe I should have some sort of. No, I won't. But thank you for being here. Episode 31. 31. That's like 30 plus 1. I'm already in it. I'm doing the podcast. That's what I'm doing right now. And I hope you're all listening to it still after this beginning already that we're doing. And we're in 1 minute, and we're going. I was in Florida last week where there was a hurricane the week before, but not in the places I was. Not on purpose. It's not like I was like, get me away from that world. But it didn't look like, everything just looked a little greener, like it got a lot of rain. But I guess one's coming back. So all the love towards the people that are in the hurricane stuff. American Red Cross is accepting donations, I think, for all of, but I don't have any information, but I could probably Google it. This is a good use of my time. How do I help? That's not it. That's something else. Okay. Helping. How hard is this? Helping. I should have done this beforehand. If I could start all over, and I can't, it's not hard to start all over. You just helping American Red Cross. That's not what I want to do. I want to help those affected by disasters. Okay. Redcross.org. I probably could have guessed that. But yeah, redcross.org. You can locate loved ones or donate now. That's the thing. And it's really important. It's really good that thing's out there. Thank you for all the support, sleepers. Yeah, but I went to Florida, and I went to Winter Haven, Florida, and this week I go to Las Vegas. What? Las Vegas, just for like the day. Like I get in the least exciting times of Las Vegas. I'm in the afternoon or during the week, and then the next morning I fly out in the afternoon, and I work in Kingman, Arizona. I thought if you were in Arizona, I would go to Phoenix, but Vegas is closer. Kingman, Arizona on Wednesday, and then Friday and Saturday I'm opening up for Kathleen Madigan at we're doing a lot of lookups here. I know on Saturday I'm in Burlington, Vermont, and then Friday I'm in Troy, New York. Why couldn't I remember Troy? We all know Troy, New York. Troy is, well, I knew a guy named Troy. I've known a couple of Troys. So that's all. No, that's great. I've had I flew back super early on Sunday so I could, because I realized when my son Jack, he's asleep, and it's still today for a little while longer. We're not having struggles with sleep. What? No. He's just on a schedule that's a little later than everyone would like that I got him on. You know what it is? It's because like I feel like almost knocked over something. I feel like when he asks for like an extra step before we go to bed, that it's because he loves me and loves life so much that he doesn't want to miss out on more of it. And it's never like the thing that's easy to say no to. Like if he's like, let's play more video games, or let's watch more TV, or let's eat more ice cream, that'd be easy to be like, no, I don't. It's always like, I want to do a craft. That's what he said tonight. He said, I want to do a craft. It is an hour. I don't know. His bedtime was probably in the past. It was probably in the past. And it was probably time to read books. And he was like, I want to do a craft. And I said no once. I said no once to the craft. And there's always this regret in my head of like, now He's not going to be a famous artist because I said no to his craft. Like, video games are kind of easy because if he wanted to be a famous video gamer or whatever, it's like, well, I just don't, there's other careers. Water. That water was like a double. Wow. Wow. That water. Now I don't. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me take some more. I love it how that's the natural way to fix coughing from water is like, let's drink more water and see if that makes the current water go down. And it did. It fixed it for now. We'll see. Not only did that water take me away from talking, and every second counts on the how I just got my kid to sleep. We pack in so much content here that I can't even do the captions for the YouTube because I'm just like, let's just have AI do it or whatever. Whatever the app does it, and then it'll be off. Have you ever tried to read captions on YouTube? I feel when I did my stand-up special, The Internet Live, which I never mentioned on here, but it is on there. It's really just my album that I recorded in 2020 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at Acme Comedy Company. And it's a comedy club. It's not just a company. And but the company, it is a company, but the company is a comedy club. Oh, I just remember my friend is going to be in Minnesota when I'm there. He's always going to be there, but I'm going to be there. And he wanted to know which day worked out. This goes back to that other podcast story I said how, like, just listen to the podcast and that's how I'll communicate to you now. So, yeah, if you're listening out there, friend, I think Wednesday or Thursday would work, depending on what time I fly in. That was pretty, but so the stand-up special that I did, the Internet Live from I typed out those captions. So if you want to see what it looks like, check it out. It might be worth just checking out the captions in themselves, because I put a lot of effort to it. I got COVID. I didn't get COVID to do it. That would be, although I haven't had COVID in a long. I shouldn't. This is real wood. But I do have things planned. That's like I don't have a vacation planned, but I have like, if I get 10 days to myself, that's what I'm gonna do. Oh man, phew! 10 days. We're 3 days. I'm like out of it. Yes, yeah. It's because as a parent, if you get COVID and there's another parent available, then you shouldn't take care of your kid because you could give it, even if you have a mask. Like they want to eat your food. I haven't done it on purpose, but I feel like my kid's been trained to the point where if he, why does it say 20%? I just plugged you in. Are you not glue it together? Phew. How are we gonna? I don't know. All I know is that I recorded the audio and then we lost video for a little bit, and that's something that happened, and we'll see how it resolves itself. But I don't like it that it says 20% and I plugged it in. Anyway, my son has been raised in a household, not on purpose, but I feel like it's made it so if I got COVID, I can't be around because like there's not a ton of personal space. He's at an age where, they're attached to the parent. So I don't know, it's probably normal, but he's very he doesn't understand that like this close is too close to be around somebody like something happened today where he just kind of headbutted me and he said he was just looking at something. And I was just like, well, give me some space, And then the food wise, at a certain age, kids, you just want them to eat. So you just kind of like your plate becomes their plate, becomes your plate. And we haven't like talked about not doing that anymore. And it's not because of that, but it is kind of helpful that if I did get it, then I'd have to take 10 days just to myself because he could just get it because we're so he eats the main way I get him to eat food, and I probably talked about this before, is I cut up food that I want him to eat and I put it on his plate and say that it's mine and say don't eat it. Try it out on your kid, see if it, but now I don't know. But I don't know what I've created. I've created a monster. No one wants to see Marshall no more. No. Now, because of that, well, back to that thing. So I do have things planned if I got COVID. Because luckily, I've been very blessed to have gotten it and been able to do stuff. The first 3 days, not not doing anything. But even that's not bad, like the last time I got it, I would just, when I was awake, I was in a hotel. I would just lay in my hotel room bed and I would just watch Shark Tank because that is, I couldn't like get up the effort to decide something to stream. You know how it is when you're in that place where you want to stream something, but you don't know what it, and if you're at a hotel, you got to like get out your phone and do the video. And then there's a QR code and then there's a link. Like, I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it didn't matter to me what I was watching. I just wanted to watch something. And it just kept it on Shark Tank. And luckily MSNBC plays Shark Tank on the regular. And so that's what I did. I watched Shark Tank. And there were times after that time when I was fully recovered. And, well, which by the way, let's just bring it back a little bit because we got to get everybody caught up, myself included. One thing I also thought was, so like I did that, right? No, let's not get everybody caught up, but we'll go back to that. If I get people caught up, then we're going to lose this track right here. And then it's like we're catching up, but we're not really catching up. We're just getting more lost. So anyway, I watched a lot of Shark Tank, and I think there was something about the hope in the people's eyes that was nice to watch when you're sick. It's just like, oh man, are they going to get money from people that can afford to give it no matter what? That's what it feels like that show is. It's like, oh no, are these people that can afford to give it no matter what are going to give it to these people that have hope? Which I know that money is money and you can't give it to everybody and you can't invest in everything, and it is supposed to be like a game and it's supposed to be real rules and like all this stuff. But it does kind of feel like, oh, you're so rich that this is all you do all day. All you could do all day is listen to people to give your money to who you have so much it doesn't really matter to you. But you want to make more money, which is you should do. Anyways, I like the show a lot. I like when the rich people get mad at the rich people. I shouldn't say rich people. It's not like a bad thing, but they just are really rich. And the people that are trying to, I would like to see one of the rich people go on Shark Tank. That would be really, I bet Mark Cuban would do it. Like, I would love for him, not on the disguise or anything, but like really be a contestant on the show. Like, here's my idea. I don't want to put my own money into it. Let's see if you guys can do it. And then have the people decide. But I'm sure if Mark wouldn't put his money behind it, then I'm sure the people were like, well, why would we do it if you don't believe in it enough? Like, if you don't believe in it more than this one idea that you gave money to, why would we do this your idea? You know what I'm talking about? Why is it called Shark? I get Shark Tanks. I guess Shark Tanks are the people that, I guess it's called Shark Tank because there's like sharks that have a lot of money and they want to give it to you so they can make a lot of money off you. But that seems like a negative thing to be a shark. I mean, it's good for the shark, but to be the people that the shark eat, that seems like a bad, but everyone's so excited to be on the show and pitch their ideas to the shark. I guess maybe it comes down to like the negotiation part of the shark where it's like, are you going to get eaten or are you going to win? Because they're always like, how about you get 49% of my company and whatever. I'm not describing that well, I think. I would go back and fix it. But we already have that gap over there. Okay, so I watched Shark Tank when I got COVID. And there was a time, like months after that, when I was fully recovered, where, because when you have a disease that's like that, which would probably, it sounds like numbers-wise, we've all had it. Some people didn't feel it. But if you felt it a little bit, like in the moment, you're like, oh, wow. Like, it's effort to turn the channel. I'm watching Shark Tank. But afterwards, in my life, for whatever reason, I looked back on those moments and I was like, oh, that was actually kind of relaxing to be so physically worn down that all other decisions you just didn't make. I just laid there, and which I feel like the goal, from what I've heard from healthy family and friends, is that you should just take that time on your own without being sick. So it's healthy to just lay on the couch and not have to stream your show you're watching, not have to accomplish anything. Just lay on the couch and just watch whatever's on TV. It's whatever you can do to just really, really let go and just really, like, who cares? Like, pretend you have COVID for a half hour every day without all the disease stuff. That's what it sounds like as a healthy way to live. But anyway, I thought it was weird too when I got sick because I was in the hotel room. was I thought like I stayed at the hotel because I followed the rules. It was at a time which I don't, because it's expensive, like I stayed at the hotel. This is like, it's over a year ago now because I thought I would have gotten it again because I was like, oh, maybe it's like my birthday, I get it every year. But I haven't. And I'm grateful that I haven't gotten it. But like I said, I have plans, I have things things that I think about every so often, once a week, whatever, where I'm like, I'm going to do that when I get COVID. Like a lot of thank you notes. You probably shouldn't write thank you notes because you could like send, I don't know if it lives on paper, but that'd be a horrible way to get it. Like, oh, thank you for this thing also. But yeah, I've gotten it 2 times. And one time was at my parents' house. I didn't get it. I like brought it. They didn't get it. But I brought it from somewhere. And I just stayed in my room, which was probably the best way to do it, to have family, because they like would bring up food on a tray. And my dad would come in to my room, and I'd be like, no. And he's like, it's fine. And he was fine. And then and I got food, and like my parents don't really understand technology. So like I had my laptop, which I can watch TV on. But they don't really understand. So they're like, do you need any books? Like my dad went to a Barnes and Noble and bought me a book to read, which was and I read it, and it was really nice. And I also watched a lot of stuff on my laptop and did some stuff. And then the hotel one was, which I look back because it's expensive, to get sick because I missed work, but also I was in this hotel and I got it. And I definitely wasn't one of those people that could like walk through an airport and people be like, oh yeah, you should get on the plane. You know what I mean? Like they would have known, right? Like I would have had, like, I don't know. I couldn't drive anywhere. And so I just stayed there until I, was better. And, but it was expensive because I was in the hotel room and I called down once I found I got it. I called the hotel and I was like, hey, I think I got to stay here. Like my doctor said, I got to stay here for like whatever it was, 5 or 6. I think it was like, it's like 10 days after your first symptom. And I think it still is that way. You're supposed to stay away from people and not have a mask. But my job, I can't wear a mask for, which is comedy and being a parent. You can't, I could wear a mask around Jack, but like I said, like, how am I going to get him to eat if it's not like I'm going to eat this food and then he takes it out of my hand? So I would really have to have someone take care of him, which is why I have things planned for if I get it again. Yeah. And not to get all like, I know people have very specific things about it, but it is interesting, I think, that we all went through that. A lot of us went through it. And I'm grateful that it didn't affect me too. But it is weird when I got, not to complain about hotel, but I got the hotel just for the weekend. And then I found out I got it and I was like, hey, I think I got to stay here now. And then they raised the price. They're like, this hotel room's already booked. And I was like, well, I don't think they're going to want to stay here now that I've been here right away. And then they're like, all right, you can stay in there. But they upgraded me when I checked in to a different room. And then they just charged me for the upgrade for the last, 5 days. And I just felt like that was not in the spirit of the holiday that I was expecting to experience. I don't know. Luckily, it was all affordable still. But anyway, how did we get on that, I think today, after the podcast, just to be careful, I'm going to sit on my couch and do nothing for a half. Which, as a parent, though, it's kind of like, well, you should probably just go to sleep, really. Is it more See, that was a drink of water that was very productive. Like, it didn't seem super long, and it didn't make me not be able to talk. As a stand-up comedian, which, by the way, if you're a new sleeper, you don't know, I am a stand-up comedian. That's what the shows I was talking about earlier. That would be crazy if you just thought I was going to Vegas for nothing. I guess people go to Vegas. But as a parent, is it healthy to take time to do nothing, or should you just go to sleep? I mean, I think when you're like a parent of like an older kid, you can do nothing. But I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, I should probably just go to sleep. Because the clock started already ticking once he goes to sleep. And now that he's in school, it's not even like, oh, maybe he'll sleep in, because they still nap at his school. So I got to be like, you got to get up, man. We're up and at 'em. We're going. we're going. And so now I got to wake him up, and then I get to sleep when he's in school, I guess. That's good. But yeah, I do dream. It's weird to have that dream. When I was a kid, you would watch Disney movies and they wish upon a star for something in their life to change and make it better. Like Geppetto wished upon a star that his little marionette doll would become a real boy, so he could become a real father to a real boy, because he liked the marionette stuff, but he really wanted a real boy to be the father to, and he wished upon a star, and then it happened. And it's just kind of weird to me that after you become a parent, you're like, what can I wish that'll give me a little break from this real boy? Because marionettes, you can put them in the box and they don't come out again, which, I don't know. But a little real boy, they're awake, and they want to do it. So Jack, he wanted to do a craft. And he knows that I'll say yes to productive things. So we did a craft. And then our local library reopened recently. It was closed. They were fixing the roof, which I can appreciate. It's just hard when you rely on the library to be there as a parent, because it's a very interactive library, especially for little kids. They had the little toy where the beads go like this, the like it's like a roller coaster, but for little beads and stuff. And then they got some like a lot of puppet things, and then a lot of other interactive. Like you take your child there and you're like, I am killing it right now. They're doing puppet stuff. They're doing the bead stuff. They're doing other things. And I'm just sitting back, chilling, I'm available if needed. We can read a book, but we also have these activities like what? No screens, just pure. I bet at one point, I don't know. I know the screens, people make such a big deal about screens. By people, I mean my mom. Because my son, I've kind of gotten over the fact of being worried about stuff. And so he's not on my phone ever. He's never on he's not on his phone. He doesn't have a phone. But we just don't do it. And I think there's some stuff on the phone that's cool. Like you can learn stuff on it. I think it's fun to play stuff on it. But we'll play video games together and we'll watch TV together. And my mom has these stats that she throws my way. And I'm just like, but we're interacting, And I do think it's better when they can just play with toys in their imagination without playing video games. But it's weird once your kid, at least my kid, not to speak for all the kids out there. I can't speak for all the kids out there. I don't have that kind of, I'm not a professional, okay? I'm not a professional kid. That was a bad time to take a drink of water, because that made it sound like I'm not a professional kid. I think I could be a professional kid. I'm really good at being a kid. Like I enjoy a lot of childlike things, like that are fun, that are like, I enjoyed being a kid, and I'm a comedian, so I don't have like a normal job like adults do, like amusement parks. I have childlike innocence in my eyes, so I think I could be not that there's a professional. I don't know what I'm saying, but anyways, I'm not a professional kid knowledge person. That maybe this is better not to talk in detail, but whatever it is, like professional child. Like psychologist, maybe, I don't know. I'm not. If you're listening to this for professional advice, this is not. I don't even know how to do a real like disclaimer. That's how unprofessional this is. But it is available on all places podcasts are and YouTube. That's how wonderful the world is now. It's on YouTube and all the places. So if you're listening to it and you're like, I want to see what's going on here, you can see it. If you're watching and you're like, I just want to hear it, that's enough looking at me. That happened to me. We're going to remember, what was I talking about before? I'm not a professional kid guy. That sounds really weird. I don't know how to develop kids professional. I don't know like the best things to educate kids, but I do think that things that are interactive are better. And, I think that it'd be funny if, like, back in the day, the bead thing that the kids play with, the beads that they have at the doctor's office, where it goes, and people are like, well, we got to cut down on that. That's too much bead roller coaster time. The kid needs to, like, play with dirt. If he does this all the time, then he's not gonna. It's so hard and easy to be a parent all at once. Like I feel like kids are so easy. Like, you can give a kid like sand, dirt, whatever, and they'll just play with it, you know. But then there's other stuff they'll get, like a toy, and they'll play with that. And they'll still play with the dirt, but they'll play with the toy too. And then you get them a video game, they'll play with the video game, they'll still play with the toy, still play with the dirt. So it's like, do you just want them in the dirt all the time? Is that? I mean, I don't think it's bad. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of not wanting to see me, I did a show at a college last week at Longwood University, home of the Lancers. And the Lancer mascot is a horse that holds like a spear, and not Lance from the boy band 90s. Bass. No, I think Lance Bass was a 98 Backstreet Boy. And there's one more. Nick Lachey's group. What was that one? Man, how do I not know these? Because I'm a man, and I'm not their demographic. I remember as a young kid hearing New Kids on the Block and being like, that's like a cool song. But then it's like early on, you're like, when girls love something, you're like, well, I can't love that. Anyway, I did a show at a college, Longwood University in Arizona. No, it's in Virginia. And you fly into Richmond and you take a nice drive. And what's nice about this drive is that there's 4-lane roads, but there's not really room. There is room, but they didn't make them that wide. So it's like you're kind of like on a 2-laner that they divide into 4. There's definitely room for 4 cars, but it's like they could have made them a little wider. Anyway, I got there, did the show. College kids are so funny because they're kind of like real kids, you know? Like they just sort of say stupid stuff because they don't know any better. And so it's not really stupid. It's just like they're learning how to live still. Like they look like adult. Like my kid isn't an adult. I know that for sure. You look at him like that's a kid. But he says stuff, he interact. You're like, oh, maybe he knows what's going on. But then he says something. You're like, well, no, you really, your main goals are just to stay up later. I was going to say eat sugar, but I don't even think he even cares about that as much anymore. He just doesn't want to go to bed. Which is kind of a compliment because I'm such a cool person, which I don't think good parents take that as a compliment. I think good parents, like he told me that today, because today, wow, we're just all over. We're rambling about different, but I got something good at the college to say, but this is something that happened today. And I know that a lot of people's podcasts are super tight. So hopefully this is the style you're looking for. But my son told me after, so that was the other thing. So he like wanted to do a craft, right? What am I supposed to do? Say no crafts, no creating before bed. How dare you think that you, a 5-year-old child, should be allowed to stay up later to do extra activities that are good for your overall brain development and life, you know? I don't know. He knows I'll say, yeah, we did a craft. It doesn't take very long either. It usually feels like it takes longer sometimes to say no and say no again. And then even like just dismiss it and you get into bed and he lays there and I feel like he's just imagining that he's doing it still and not falling asleep. He actually said that one time. I might have mentioned that last week, which if I did, I don't think I did because last week was a completely different podcast than it usually is. I spoke almost directly the whole time to a mythical figure. But like if my podcast, if you've ever seen the show Barry, that episode was like the one with the girl that like is crazy, which I don't know what the cross section of people that watch Barry versus my podcasts are like. But anyway, last week we went to Universal Studios because we have passes. And we get out of school and, you know, we're like, oh, he wants to go. We live really close, so we have a pass, so it's free because we paid extra one day where you had to buy an extra day, and it was only a little more to pay for a pass. And then we start going. You're like, well, might as well get a extra, like a bigger pass, so then you can park there for free. So now it's like zero money to go there. It would cost more to go to like a normal indoor playground. So we go there, and I have trouble, like, when it comes to amusement parks, I didn't get to ever go as a kid. Not that my parents were ever like, we're not going. We just didn't live near one. And my parents were good parents. I don't know. I don't think I'm a bad parent. But they were like, we never made trips to areas that had them. Like we went, I can count them on one hand, the amount of times I went as a kid with my parents, which I guess that's normal. Like you go maybe once every couple of years. We went to Cedar Point one time. We went to Indiana Beach. But that was like a office picnic, so I don't even know if that counts, but I'm counting it. I'll give it to him. And then I think we went with my grandparents a couple times to their like work picnic at Geauga Lake, but I'm not counting those. And then we went to Disney World twice, which is a lot. That was pretty cool to go 2 times. But that was it. And I know that sounds like a lot now, but it was enough to know what it was and really be excited about it. So now I live close to one, and then Jack wants to go. I'm like, yeah, I'll go to that. And so, but I don't know. My idea is if you don't go a lot, you just stay until they make you leave. But when you have a kid and they have school, you can't do that. So we got to be like, we got to go. And then sometimes you just end up being out a little later. And so we were. And so Jack's pattern when he comes home at night is we play video games and then we eat dinner. And then we take a bath and then read books and then go to bed. And we had already eaten food somewhere else too. And Jack doesn't really understand that when we eat out, that counts as dinner. At least this is what he claims. Is he crazy or is he the smartest mastermind of staying up later I've ever been to? We went to I think we went to Chick-fil-A. And because it's like whatever you think, but they have like kale and fruit, and he doesn't really eat that, but they have like chicken and stuff. And we ate there, and then we came home and he's like, time for dinner. I was like, no, he doesn't. I mean, we used to go to Denny's and he'd be like, all right, it's time for dinner. So anyways, I was just like, no, we ate, and now we're going to bed. We're going to bed now because as a parent, like now I've attached my worth to his sleep schedule, which. I don't know whether I don't think you should attach your worth to anything as a parent, but I definitely have. Like if he goes to bed early and falls asleep early, I'm going to feel good about myself. And if he doesn't, I'm going to feel bad about myself. And I shouldn't do that. I should just get him to bed early so I can feel good about myself. But and that's what the point of this story is. So that time I was just like, all right, I think we took a bath still, but we skipped it all because we were already eating dinner. And then I put him in bed, except I think we did a book. And he really wanted to play video games, and I was like, no, we're just gonna go to bed. And we went to Universal. They have Mario Brother World. We did the video games at the place, but he's like, I need to do them here. And it's not long. It's like 20 minutes or whatever. That's how long a game is. But I was like, no. And then he just laid in bed. And he's like, Dad, I'm thinking about video games right now. That's all he said. He didn't ask to play it. I did talk about this on the podcast before, not last week, but previously. Catching people up. I'm aware of it. At least I'm getting better. If you're aware of it, then that's the one thing. I can't believe my producer let me even go into that. Producer, where's my producer today? Oh, I don't have the bald eagle or anybody. I have Super Dad. Anyway, we do the books, Is that what I was talking about? Oh, so we did the craft today, and then he's like, we do some physical activities, where he's got a little like kind of inflatable thing that he got for his birthday from someone who just wanted to terrorize my life. Isn't that funny? It's not bad, but there are gifts where I'm like, that's going to take up his whole room. And I don't know. It's really fun. It's like this thing you blow up and there's balls you put in it. And so we were playing a game where he would try to run from there to his bed, and I would catch him and then throw him back in the ball pit. And I heard it's good to connect with your children in sort of like that sort of way. It's like healthy for them to wind down at night. I think it was either wind down or get excited in the morning. I can't. I should look that up. But it was like sort of kind of like wrestling, but also throwing. And he was fine. So we did that. And then I let him. Then he just got a win. So he won that game. And then he's like, because I win, we get one more book. And now it's like, now we got a craft. And now we're reading like 3 books. And his books when he was a baby were so easy. They were like 20 seconds long or whatever. It's so short. But now they're like Dr. Seuss. He wrote one book for the bedtime. But now we're reading 2 Dr. Seuss's. And my friend wrote a comic book called Super Toast Man. He's only written 1 episode. And we read it every night The child wants it every night. And then he asks questions about not every single. I don't want to be all like, this happens every time. But it does happen a lot for a comic book we've read over and over and over. He has specific details. In the comic book, is this interesting to anybody that's listening? In the comic book, Super Toast Man is a superhero, and he gets hypnotized by Cinnabon, who's a bad guy. And so in some of the parts where he's hypnotized, there's little lines through his eyes to show that he's been hypnotized. But when the shot on the comic book strip is a little farther away, they don't draw the lines in there. And Jack always asks, he's like, why is he not hypnotized anymore? Why aren't the lines in there? And it's because he's farther away, so it might be weird to look on his eyes if you draw it from farther away. I probably should just say that. I feel like I've tried to say that, and he's just like, but are they not hypnotized or whatever? That's not what but he's just like, they're hypnotized, but I don't see the lines. And then I tell him, well, they draw it in, and then he's just confused. He's like, well, they draw it in? And I'm like, well, they draw the whole thing. And he's like, well, how come it's not sticky? Because of the paint. Or I said that, well, actually, they paint it. And I was like, well, how come they're not? I'm like, well, it's a copy. And I never wanted to be a parent that was just like, because we're talking about it another time or whatever. Because I feel like it's good that he's interested in things, but I feel like he knows. I feel like he knows that I think it's good that he's interested in things, and now he's using that against me to push his bedtime back. And when he pushes his bedtime back, then my bedtime goes back, because my podcast time goes back, because my cleaning up the kitchen goes back, because earlier in the day when we were playing with his toys and it was kind of messy, and I was like, well, we could clean this up right now, or we could get ahead of this and go to bed, and I could clean up really fast. And so we skip it, but now it's still a mess, and we didn't go to bed earlier. He fell asleep 15 minutes later tonight. 15 minutes later, and we did all that we could to cut time. But I can't say no to more books. Books are amazing. We got a book from the library. It's called like the Go to Sleep book or whatever. It's like a Dr. Seuss book where all throughout the book are these characters that are yawning. And they're yawning. It's a good book to read before bed because all the characters are yawning. But Jack wants to read more than one book. And I know people listening are like, well, you're the parent. You can decide. I get it. But there's also people out there, Instagram videos are like, your child wants one more book. And when you're 95 years old and still alive, despite of all the stress that your heart received because you're a parent, you look back on these moments, you'll want to read one more book. You'll want to read one more book. You'll want to do one more wrestling, throwing him in the pit thing that you didn't want in his house, but it's there. You'll want to go on one more ride at an amusement park. You'll want it all. And then, but those aren't the same videos that are like, your child needs to go to bed at the same time every day. It would be easier for me if his school, I think, they take a nap at school. So I'm always like, oh, he'll be okay. Because either he doesn't nap at school because he just lays there, or he does. And so if there's like time to pick up. But next year will be the time when it's just like we're going to sleep, because otherwise you'll be tired for the whole day. But he knows that. So we read more books. So the whole point of this is, if I know I've lost every book, but like the whole point is the go to bed book is the one to read right before you go to bed. But he picks the order. It sounds like I just let him do it, but he's very happy. If you ever met him, you'd be like, he's a happy kid, you know? Maybe I should have established some more dominance early on in the parent-child relationship. That's what I'm looking back at now. Like my aunt she was retired now, but she was a 6th grade teacher. And she was like, at the beginning of the school year, you have to be really not hard on the kids, but you can't give anything. You can't give anything up. You can't go easy on them, because then they'll just walk all over you. But if you're strict in the beginning, then you can be cooler later. And I was just like, wow, it's so cool that she's cool now. And I feel like as a parent, that's kind of hard though, because when they're babies, they need to be babied. So they're babies. And then they can't handle a lot. And you can make them handle it, but I don't know how healthy it is. Yeah. I feel like a lot of parenting for me is, and not to be negative at all, but it's a real effort to believe that it's going well. It's going okay for sure. He's healthy. It's fine. But I feel like, people tell you stuff, they're like, he's got to go to bed. And I've done it, It's whatever works for you. It's whatever works for you. And we're reading books. That's the other thing. It's like, so he wants to read books. This is the whole point of this. I know I've gone on some time, but the whole point is there's a book that's called Going to Bed Book. And in the whole book, they yawn throughout the book. All these characters, there's a lot of rhyming, a lot of cool rhymes. Along, probably like, I would say at least a 5-minute read, maybe 10, about yawning basically, and how yawning is contagious, and how the whole world is falling asleep right now. And if you fall asleep, then this number that rhymed with the number before is going to be one more. The book ends with the words good night. Jack is literally yawning in my lap. I read it to him. He's yawning in my lap as I read it to him. But then we have another book after that. And I get it the first time. I'm like, all right, I felt that for this the first time. But this time, today, I was like, let's make this the last book. And he's like, no, I like Super Toastman to be the last book. And then he added on another book. So now, which is what kind of pet should I get? And he got that because he beat me in this game that I let him win so we could go to bed earlier. He's like, I got to get from this thing that you jump into the bed, and then I get a point. And then he's like, I get 12 chances, but if I touch you, then I get my 12 chances back. Because I'm an adult, you know? I played football in high school. There's no way you're getting around me. Do you realize how much better I am at everything than him that we compete at? We compete every day. His main thing is competing against somebody, and I'm so much better. Today, we went to an amusement park. We went to Universal, and all of like a lot of the Nintendo World things are like you play against each other. And I wasn't even trying. I was literally like taking it all in, enjoying watching him, having fun, just sort of playing for fun on Mario Kart or whatever. And I was still destroyed him. He has no like the hand-eye coordination. He's smaller. Like every day I lose. I just lose. Today, we did the video game part of our day. It's not all day. It's like 25 minutes. Mario Party 9, I will say this. Whoever made it so each game is like at most like 25 minutes. It's perfect. So it's like a good amount of time. And you can give people an advantage. So like I play with Jack, and then there's 2 computer players, and then you can adjust people's stars, which are like points at the beginning of the game. Jack always gives himself 50 stars. He gives the other 2 computer players 45 stars. I got 5. He gave me 5 stars. I was in the hole, 45 stars. I come back to tie the game on top of the fact I got a phone call during the game. He played one of the mini games as me, lost on purpose. I still tied to win the game. I'm so much better than him at a lot of competitive things. Until he isn't, then I'm very happy for him. But the whole point is, there's a book that puts your kid to sleep, you know? And we read it the first night. We read it and then had another book after that. I was like, we're not doing that again. So then tonight he has 3 books. And I'm like, let's read this one last. And he's like, no, I just got to read Super Toastman last. And I remember seeing this Instagram video of how your kid wants things read in a certain way. And that's how they fall asleep. So that's what we did. But then we did it. And he was almost falling asleep in the Goodnight book. Like, I feel like in a world where I exercise the kind of control I actually have, I could have just put him into bed and turned off the light and walked out of there. But we read 2 more books, and he woke up. I mean, like, he wasn't falling asleep as much. He didn't actually fall asleep, but he was like, he yawned a lot. It's so funny. Like, you read about these people yawning in the book, and he yawns. It's brilliant. I don't know what it's called, but it's something about sleeping, and it's by Dr. Seuss. And it's not available at my local library because I have it. And it's probably due. I love libraries. I love libraries as a parent because I feel like I'm doing a good job. Like I said earlier, when I'm at the library, I feel like I'm doing a good job. I feel like I'm doing a good job. It's hard to not feel like you're doing a good job at the library. You could put anything in the library, and if my kid was doing it, I'd be like, it's at the library. That's research or whatever. I also feel that way. Oh, this is what I was going to start off with. We went to there's like this little train at Griffith Park. I feel like that at parks, too. Outdoor parks, whenever you're outside with your kid, you're doing a good job. But that's not, like, you could be robbing a bank and being outside. That's still feel like I'm doing a good job. We're getting exercise. We're running away from the police. I'm doing such a good job right now. But I don't think I'd bring my kid if I was a bankrupt. But sometimes you might have to. You don't get babysitters, and you're like, well, at least we'll get, some cardio or whatever. But we went to the Griffith Park. Has a Halloween, like, hunt in the train. So you get on this little train, and it's like about 10-minute ride around, and they give you cards, and the kids find all the things. They're like different pumpkins and stuff that are like put all around the track. You don't go and touch them, you just see them. And it was my idea, and I love it because it's like, it's the park, so it's very like, it's not expensive. And I was just going to bring Jack, And then his mom was like, oh, well, we invited this person, but their parents are sick, so she can't go. And I was like, well, and then I realized we were pretty close by, so I was just like, I'll call. And I called, and I realized I was calling someone that was sick, so I hung up and didn't leave a voice message because it didn't get to go to that point. And then I couldn't text while I was driving. And they called back, which I never do. If someone calls and I don't get a voice message, I'm not going to call back. But they call back and they're like, hey, I got a call from this number. I was like, oh, I want to, I'm this. They know who I am. And I was like, we're going there. And Jack wants your daughter to come with us. And because that's what was planned. And, he's all about plans. And she was like, yeah, sure. And then I picked up another child, one of Jack's friends, and put her in my car, and I drove with Jack. And the way I'm talking about this probably sounds a little weird, but like, it's the first time ever another adult has given me their child and been like, you'll be fine. Like, when it's Jack, they have to, because he's mine, and I haven't shown any legal reason to not to. But they were like, we don't do soft drinks. I was like, we don't do soft drinks. Well, I do. I do soft drinks, and Jack gets Sprite on the plane, but I feel like there's lemon in it, so it's not a big deal. But they gave me their and they put and they were great, and they were like, take pictures. I took pictures, and the girl was running and she fell, and I was like there. I didn't have the stuff that you spray. There's the stuff that you spray that kills all the bad stuff. But we did like the train, and then there was like an indoor part, which like when it's just Jack and me, it kind of feels like you're in a video game, and I'm like, maybe we should just be outside. But with two kids, they were just going nuts over this simulator is what it's called, and you're in this train simulator, and it's like so fun. And then we did so much train stuff that we went to go to the snow cones, and the snow cone place is closed already. And I was just like, and the kids are like, no. My son specifically was like, no, I want a snow cone. He doesn't talk. I can't remember his tone exactly. Like if you were there and you saw it, and now you're listening to the podcast, you're like, that's not how it was, Michael. But my son was like, it's not fair. He was having trouble processing it, but his friend's a little older, and she's like, but we still had fun. I'm like, what? This little kid said that we still had fun. And then I brought her back, and everyone was healthy, and like a lot. I mean, other than the scraped knee, but like that's, people say scraped knees are like health. And it was a big deal. It was a really big moment for me, especially. It's weird that I'm bringing up this late in the podcast, because I was like, wow, when you have one kid and they're yours, and you're out doing stuff, that wears off after a little bit. You're like, yeah, I do this all the time. And I'm sure if you have multiple kids, you probably feel like a superhuman, but it probably wears off. But like when another adult parent gives you their kid who's not super old, I would say 6. I think Jack's 5 and she's 6. Like, it's just very like, someone might have been talking. Am I too loud? I feel like this is the least loud I've been. This could be like a phone conversation. We're just like friends, It just feels very much like I'm doing things okay, Like I gave their parents who were sick a break. Her parents who were sick a break. And then Jack got to have a friend. So here's all the positives. Jack got to have a friend with him. I'm cool, but like friends are better. And then I got to give parents a break. And we did a Halloween spirit thing. Like it was like they dressed up. I dressed, and then they're outside. This is 4. How do you do 4 with your hands? Do you do it like, that's 3? Well, this is 3. I think 3 is the hard one. This is the easier 3. It's like the okay. But this seems like what I used to do, but that's kind of hard. But anyway, yeah. So if you're in LA, Griffith Park Springs, there's a train, and it's really cool. And if you have a younger child or older kid, in the holidays, in the Christmas time, they have really lit up. Like they sell out of that. And it's my favorite thing to do with Jack, because I feel like I'm giving him a real kid experience, Like when it comes to like amusement parks or like video games or other stuff like that, I'm like, you can enjoy that forever, like those are but then I'm like, I'm riding this train and I'm having a good time. My kid is here, so that's an excuse to be here. But that is weird. I did realize that this weekend, because I was in Florida, like in Winter Haven, Florida, which is home to Legoland. And I had heard that like Disneyland, Disney World, you can just go to, you can be an adult, whatever. But I heard the Legoland in California, you have to have a kid because they're mostly like smaller rides or whatever. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to even go if I wanted to. But then I get to my hotel and Legoland is like right there. Like I literally could walk there. I'd have to drive past it to go eat somewhere. And so I was driving. I was like, I could just go there, you know? And because I was like, well, I should bring Jack. But then the idea of like, all right, how do I get Jack to Legoland? Well, I have to get booked back to this club. Probably another year. And then I got to fly him in with me and fly him out. And then I got to bring like an adult or find like a babysitter for when I'm on stage. And I was like, or I could just go now and not tell him. And then I get to go and I get to experience it. And then if he gets to come with me next time, then that's fine. But I still don't have to miss it, you know. And I haven't told him yet that I've gone. I haven't shown him any pictures because I think it would bother him. But he would forget about it easily. And what I realized when I was there, like I thought I might be like nostalgic, like, oh, I wish my kid was here so we could enjoy this together. But I wasn't. Because when you go to a theme park with a kid, you got to carry them a lot of the time because they can walk. But when they're done walking, they're just like, and I don't know what the real regulation time that a child can walk for is. And I just trust him when he's like, carry me or whatever. And he also says like, you can't do escalators because they're tricky to him. And so like, but when you're by yourself, you don't have to carry anybody. And like, you don't have to go on anything you don't want to go on. You can go on anything you do want to go on. And I think before I was a parent, if I went to a theme park by myself, I would feel like, oh, whatever. But I'm a dad. You know, I had proof that I have a kid that's not with me. And not that it matters, but it was like, it was very fun to relax. Theme parks in general are relaxing and fun. But if you can keep your kids at home, they're really, really fun. No, you should bring them. It is fun bringing your kid, but it's also, if you're a parent, you should try to go by yourself at some point. And also, Legoland isn't like a huge thing. Like Disney World, I feel like is really big. There's like days and days and days. I've never been there by myself. Not that I don't know. I was staying so close, it would feel weird to be there and not go there, you know? Anyway, I bought him something and didn't tell him it was from there. But thank you for listening, everybody. I hope everybody has a great week, depending on when I get this up by. It's Monday here. What time is it in your time zone? Be safe, redcross.org. Keep your loved ones in your hearts and in your minds and in your conversations as you talk to them. Like I said, I'll be in those places I said earlier. And then the next week, Salt Lake City I'm coming back to. So that'll be fun. And then Stamford, Connecticut, not New York, Stamford, Connecticut, which is really close to New York. Stamford, New York is actually really far from New York City. Stamford, Connecticut is super close to New York City. So yeah, if you didn't see me in New York City or Long Island, you can see me there. But that's not what this podcast is about. I mean, it's kind of the reason I do it. But like not the whole like it's not. But then I go to Bennington, Vermont, and then Portland, Maine. Whoa. Check out the website. Check out Instagram. Thank you. The end.